Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. But who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And he's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer. Welcome to another episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Today we're going to talk about a few things in the news. We're going to talk about Glock 9, we're going to talk about Donald Trump, we're going to talk about Pooh Shiesty, Alan Weisselberg, and a couple other things. But to start off with, there has been a major indictment out in the East Coast, or West Coast, sorry. Glock 9 and Hotboii are among two of the almost 3 dozen people that have been indicted in Orange County. The feds have gone after these guys for a number of things. There have been 30 shootings in the last several weeks, and the shootings have resulted in the death of one small child and a 14-year-old, among other people. Now, the feds have stepped in on something like this, and this is a very large racketeering. It's a Rico case. Rico was a statute created back in the 30s to combat organized crime. Now, what it basically does is it creates a series of crimes in the way people are acting together in concert. And so when you have all these different people, they call it the organization. It's a Corrupt Organizations Act. And basically, when people are acting in concert with each other and they form an organization whose primary purpose is criminal, whether it be drugs, murder, guns, whatever it happens to be, and in this case, it's all three. So we have a situation where Glock 9 has been taken into custody, and his bail is $750,000. I don't know if he can make that or not, but I'm surprised that he actually has any bail. But be that as it may, in Orange County, that's one of the counties where you have a very liberal bench out there. So it's not that hard to get released from federal custody. As we saw with NBA Youngboy when he got busted in LA, he was released, but then the magistrate ruling was appealed by the government and they kept him in custody. So one of the things that happens with these multi-defendant conspiracy cases is that the first in is the first out, basically, and they are snitch central. So what's going to happen is there are going to be all kinds of snitches in this case. You just watch. But whether Glock 9 gets out or whether Hotboii gets out, you don't want to make any kind of assumptions if they get out that there must be snitching, because generally people who are bonding out aren't necessarily snitching. But it's a very complicated indictment, and when you have these kinds of indictments, the federal guidelines for these sentences just go through the roof. They can be anywhere from 188 to 235 months all the way up to life, depending upon what the situation is. And if any of these people have 2 or more violent crimes in their past, they could potentially be part of the Armed Career Criminal Act, which means that you can have much higher mandatory minimums that the judges don't have any authority to go beyond. So we're going to follow that Glock 9 and Hotboii and find out where they go. And people wonder, why is this important? Well, it's important because this is on the street, and the feds are taking over some of these larger cases, especially where it seems like that the locals are kind of outmanned, outgunned. And that's why you have such a large indictment on something like this. Now let's talk about Pooh Shiesty, because that's exactly what happened in Pooh Shiesty's case. Pooh Shiesty just got recently indicted. He has a detention hearing tomorrow. So what happens is you get indicted by the feds, and his indictment relates right back to some of the same stuff that he was in court for just a few weeks ago. And one of the things that they said in Pooh Shiesty's case is that the social media posts that he put on, for example, there was a $100 bill that they were able to link up to the scene because there was a bag that fell out of the car after the shooting, and that bag contained $40,000 in cash, and one of those bills matched the serial number on social media, on Instagram, and then they also linked him up with his car as well. And those social media posts can really wind up haunting anybody who's trying to avoid detection. And so they have now filed federal charges on Pooh Shiesty. So he'll get. So when you get, and he's now in federal custody, and so they have to bring him before a magistrate. We have the magistrate and then the district court judge. When they bring him to the magistrate will make a ruling as to whether or not he gets released. This is in Florida, so I don't think he's going to get released. I think he's going to be held without bond. That's my guess. I can't say that for certain, but that would be my guess. If he's allowed to post a bond, it would be significant for sure because he was already out on bond when he got the new charge. So what'll happen is the magistrate makes a ruling. If either the government or the defendant don't like that ruling, they can appeal that ruling to the district court judge. Now, remember we saw that with NBA YoungBoy. They let him out in L.A., but the judge that was the district court judge in charge of it actually heard the appeal from the government and then reversed what the judge in L.A. said, or the magistrate in L.A. said, and they kept him in custody. That could happen here. But if the magistrate in Florida decides, okay, Mr. Shiesty, we're going to release you on these conditions, the government could appeal that to the district court judge. Vice versa, if the judge says we're going to keep you in, the defense can appeal that. So that's a couple different cases with people that we've been following. And lastly, let's talk about a couple of major celebrities in the news. Right? So last week, the Trump Organization and CFO Alan Weisselberg were both indicted. Now, Weisselberg was indicted on a tax scheme going back 15 years where he received a car, an apartment, tuition for his children or grandchildren, and a whole host of other fringe benefits that he never paid tax on. And then the organization actually got indicted as well. You saw that, I don't know if you saw the rally that Trump held in Sarasota recently, and he essentially admits that in the rally, to the facts that would support, the charge, basically, that, we didn't pay tax on any of that stuff.
And yet they go after good, hard-working people for not paying taxes on a company car or a company apartment. You used an apartment because you need an apartment, or education for your grandchildren. I don't even know. Do you have to? But does anybody know the answer to that stuff?
Now, here's the thing. I haven't seen the indictment, and I haven't read up on the tax law that Alan Weisselberg is facing, but I do know that district. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office is no slouch, and Cy Vance and the team that they put together is actually a pretty formidable team. And they've gotten his records, Trump's records, finally, and it's just amazing what's going to happen. Mark my words. They're going to eat around the edges of this. They're going to really try hard to get Weisselberg to flip. However, one could make the statement that these kinds of cases are not based on witnesses. They're based on documents. And they're not sexy cases. They're not sexy cases at all. But they're based on documents. And so if there's false tax filings, false insurance filings, false whatever. So this is just the first nibbling on the edges of the Trump Organization. You're going to see other indictments coming down. I'll bet, and I don't know whether or when Trump gets indicted. No clue. Do I have a dog in that fight? Hell no. I don't really care one way or the other. But we'll see what happens. It's just interesting, criminal theater, and that's what I'm here to comment on. And lastly, we saw last week that Bill Cosby was released. Now, look at Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby had all kinds of detractors, all kinds of people that that accused him of this and that. Well, the woman from Temple University that he was accused of drugging and having sex with, she had a civil suit against him many years ago, and it was a different district attorney back then. And Cosby and his crew, well, his lawyers, not his crew, Cosby and his lawyers struck a deal where, look, okay, if I'm going to give this deposition, the deal is you can't use it and you can't prosecute me. I'll agree to do this if basically you give me a pass. So the statute of limitations was just about to run. You got a new county or new district attorney in Philadelphia or somewhere in Pennsylvania, where he was, and it's just about to run, and they charged him anyway. Now, the state Supreme Court in Pennsylvania said that it was a violation of due process to prosecute when he was given basically immunity in exchange for his testimony. I happen to agree with the court's ruling. I did listen to one of the prosecutors who said that she didn't think any kind of agreement like that existed. However, when questioned on the stand, the district attorney said, yes, there was an agreement. It wasn't in writing. It was verbal. But, yeah, there was an agreement. So you have to take him at his word. And if there was an agreement, it's an affront to every defendant for a prosecutor to go back on his word. And here's the thing. Just because that prosecutor is no longer the prosecutor in currently, that doesn't mean that agreement doesn't have to be honored, because it's simple contract law. You have a promise, you have an act on that promise, and then that reliance on that promise is what the violation of the due process was, because Bill Cosby probably wouldn't have given that deposition or that statement had it not been for that promise to not prosecute him. And that survives no matter who the next county attorney is, that district attorney. That district attorney has to honor what the other one said. So, and then the other thing that they commented on in that opinion was the use of priors, basically prior, it's called 404B evidence, prior bad acts. They had a number of accusers who were able to tell their story that didn't really have anything to do with the current case. And 404B evidence is dangerous because what it is it's when you take a prior bad act and you use it to show act in conformity with. In other words, he did it before, he must be doing it now. You can't do that. The rule actually specifically prohibits it. But you can use prior bad acts for other purposes like common scheme, identity, plan, preparation. But there's a danger that too much of it is a good thing. You know, too much of anything is a bad thing. By that I mean there's a danger that it's more prejudicial than probative. You don't want a jury to convict somebody based on something that has nothing to do with the current crime that they're being accused of. And so while identity and motive, plan, opportunity, preparation, those kinds of things are important in a case like this, especially when the scheme is to drug and then have sex with somebody who's helpless, basically. There is a danger, especially when you're dealing with sex cases, that it's so that people are just going to convict because, oh my God, he did that before. Oh, he must have done this again. What a piece of garbage. You know, there's a real danger to that. And the state Supreme Court in Pennsylvania commented on that. And I think they struck a good balance. And I think, people are outraged that he got free. I am not outraged in the least. I think that the district attorney in Pennsylvania should have honored what the prior agreement was, and that is why the state Supreme Court in Pennsylvania found a due process violation with that. And so they can't prosecute him. He's done. He's absolutely done. So these are just a few of the legal headlines that have been in the paper and on in the media last week. So we're gonna have more of these kind of updates, and we got some other stuff that we're gonna be doing soon. So I just want to tell you guys, thank you for blowing our channel up. I'm Bruce Rivers, board certified criminal defense lawyer. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and if you're on Patreon, you get a little priority with some suggestions on what we should go. And here's the thing, I want to give you a shout out to Michael Rivers. He's going to be on Broadcast Wheeler. Watch his interview. Gives you some kind of insight into the creativity that goes on behind the scenes. Couldn't do it without him. He's my boy. So talk to you guys soon. See you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.